Ben Manski's on the line with us. He's the co-chair of the convention, of the Democracy Convention. Excuse me, the chair of the Democracy Convention, and the executive director of Liberty Tree, democracyconvention.org, and libertytreefdr.org. The website's Ben. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
Thanks for joining us, Ben. Tell us, what can people do who are horrified by the fact that what should have been shoo-in elections in Wisconsin yesterday weren't, because the Democrats were massively outspent by transnational corporations, billionaires like the DeVos family, the Amway fortune, the Koch family, the Koch oil, and all these other diversified businesses, now the second largest privately held corporation in America, family. These politically active oligarchs, what can we do?
Well, I think we have to start by facing up to the gravity of the situation. What happens is that we take a hard hit, and then the instinct is to recover from that and come back for some more without actually changing our tactics or strategy. And any strategy that's based on the idea that we live in a functioning democracy in the United States of America is doomed to fail. I think that's the lesson from what happened yesterday and what's been happening to us actually for most of my adult lifetime. The answer, if the problem is democracy, if the problem is power, then the answer is democracy. The answer is power. We have to build a democracy movement for the United States. And that's what has been such an exciting part of the movement here in Wisconsin, and also the work of Liberty Tree, of the Move to Amend Coalition, and of this National Democracy Convention, which is gathering here in just 2 weeks.
That's great. And let me just restate some of these websites. They will be on our homepage at thomhartmann.com. They'll be in our newsletter tonight. You can subscribe to it for free. It gives you all the links of every single story we talk about every single day. Sue Nethercutt does a brilliant job of putting this thing together. And Louise will probably Twitter them out. But Ben, the websites, correct me if I'm wrong, democracyconvention.org. That's for the convention that you've got coming up in Madison in 2 weeks. Among others, the website is huge. You've got a lot of stuff going on. MoveToAmend.org, which I believe was started originally by Jeff Milchen, and has. Go ahead.
Actually, he's a supporter, but he's not. He's actually involved with the American Independent Business Alliance. But that
Amoeba,
perhaps Amoeba, which is a great group.
Right.
Actually, Move to Amend is a very broad coalition. And the four anchoring organizations are Liberty Tree, Democracy Unlimited, the Alliance for Democracy, and the Center for Media and Democracy, and then more recently, your friends at Progressive Democrats of America.
Great. Okay. And so that's MoveToAmend.org, and that's I always recommend people go there because in my book Unequal Protection, that's the carry home message. We've got to amend the Constitution. Either that or Congress has to assert the authority that the Constitution gives it in Article 3 to regulate the Supreme Court. But so far, in 200 and some odd years, they have chosen not to do that. And then the third is Liberty Tree FDR, and that's not FDR as in Franklin Delano Roosevelt, although that makes it very easy to remember. It says in Foundation for the Democratic Revolution. And what do you mean by the Democratic Revolution?
Well, there has been this revolution, as Benjamin Rush said, Dr. Rush said, at the close of the American War of Independence. He said, only the first chapter of this great drama has been written. And we follow in that tradition, the idea that the American Revolution is a living tradition, that it has not been completed, anything but been completed at this point, and that the task of progressives in particular is to make the promise of American democracy real. Our forebears launched the abolitionist movement, women's suffrage movement, women's rights movement, civil rights movement, you name it. Everything that's great about America.
Workers' rights movements. That's
right, workers' rights movement. In fact, much of the labor movement's history comes from my own state of Wisconsin, and we're fighting to take that back now. So much of the great tradition of this country has been the work of our forebears. And so for Liberty Tree, we stand on the great American traditions, the great progressive traditions of expanding the franchise, expanding the circle of standing, expanding democracy, but we also want to make them real. And we think that, frankly, the federal government in particular is largely the creature of multinational corporations. State governments increasingly are creatures of multinational corporations.
Largely through ALEC.
Yeah, ALEC and the Koch brothers and the Chamber of Commerce, money talks.
Yep.
And if we really want to change things in America, then we have to be real that we need fundamental democratic reforms that altogether would mean a complete change in our economic and political structure in this country. That's what a revolution is.
Right. And there are Americans across this country that are devoted to that. We have a minute left, Ben Manski. First of all, I'm curious, do you agree with my basic analysis that what we saw last night in Wisconsin was the fine-tuning of the 2012 election strategy, and it was the first serious post-Citizens United election where it was basically the battle of the oligarchs against the people?
Well, I do and I don't. I do think it's important to recognize that these were Republican seats, that they essentially lost a third of them, and that if you were to extrapolate that statewide, it would mean a complete shift in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So there's reason to be hopeful, but it's going to be a tough fight.
Yeah, okay. I will give you that. In fact, I agree with that. And it's a good sign, and it's a good first step. And next week, it's going to be, there's going to be a whole other challenge because the Republicans are going to try and take those 2 seats back, only different seats. So Ben Manski, democracyconvention.org, check it out. MoveToAmend.org, check it out. And libertytreefdr.org. Thanks, Ben.